Alright, so Comic-Con is going to happen this week, more specifically on the 24th of July, and AMC is going to have their panel at Hall H. And there has been a lot of evidence and rumors that Rick Grimes could be returning soon, or at least a new spin-off could be announced. So in today's video, I'm just going to be giving my theories and speculation about that, and what are the chances of Rick Grimes returning or some sort of announcement happening this week regarding Rick Grimes. So please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now, first of all, I want to talk about Comic-Con. And now, as we all know, Comic-Con is a place where AMC and a lot of other productions and stuff like that, they announce new projects and of that nature, right? Like, you know, Disney does that with the MCU, and DC does that, and also AMC does that for the Walking Dead universe. And they're getting into preparations for this year's Comic-Con, and which is happening on the 24th of July until, I believe, the 26th. And AMC is going to have their panel at Hall H, and Hall H is the biggest panel, right, at Comic-Con, and they're going to make announcements there. Last year, it wasn't really anything, right? It was just Daryl Dixon and Dead City all over again, and we were expecting some sort of news regarding Rick Grimes, but we did not get anything. But this year, something very interesting did happen, and there has been a pattern from AMC throughout the past couple of months that point towards Rick Grimes returning. And what I'm talking about for Comic-Con is that the key art, or the poster for The Ones Who Live, is at Comic-Con, right beside Dead City and Daryl Dixon Season 3. We have The Ones Who Lives poster up there, and of course this is all preparation, and this could definitely just be just promoting AMC Plus and stuff like that, promoting The Ones Who Live some more, right, to get more eyes on the show. But why would you do some advertisement on a show that's already done, right? That just does not make sense, right? You know, Dead City and Daryl Dixon, they make sense because they're getting a new season, right? Dead City is getting season 3, and Daryl Dixon is getting season 3 as well. So it makes sense to promote those two shows, and also Dead City season 2 did end fairly recently. So in my opinion, those two do make sense, but The Ones Who Live does not make sense if they're just going to promote that one season, which leads me to believe that we are going to get some sort of announcement regarding Rick Grimes, right? And this has been in the leaks and rumors for the past couple of months, right? And AMC has been posting a lot of stuff, right, that point towards Rick Grimes returning, or some sort of Ones Who Live season 2, right? And I just wanted to get into some proof and evidence first. First of all, the DVD for The Ones Who Live, it was labeled as season 1, which got a lot of people thinking that, yeah, you know, if they're labeling it as season 1, and if they're really putting that in your face that it is a season 1, then where is season 2, right? It's going to continue, which does make sense, right? Because the other two spin-offs do have multiple seasons, and The Ones Who Live, in my opinion, and I believe that for a lot of other people, is the biggest spin-off and was the spin-off that everyone was looking forward to, right? Because Rick Grimes is returning, and it felt so weird that they have one season of Rick Grimes, right? Like 6 episodes, and then just done, like radio silent from there. It just doesn't make sense, which also in a lot of other commercials and just promotion for AMC Plus to get people to buy the service, The Ones Who Live has been labeled quite a bit of times as season 1. And yeah, like, I believe that Rick Grimes is going to return some way or another, right? And I think that that announcement is going to come this week at Comic-Con. And I know that we shouldn't get our hopes up, right? This is AMC at the end of the day, and it's Scott Gimple, so we should not get our expectations too high. But with all the evidence and the proof, it seems like we're going to get something related to The Ones Who Live, and I hope that it's not some sort of like a Blu-ray re-release, or just some sort of collection with the other spin-offs or something like that. I hope that it is a new season or some sort of announcement or a poster, right? Because we all know that they're not working on a brand new spin-off right now, right? Maybe they are, right? Maybe they're in pre-production, but from what I'm seeing online, they're not really working on anything new. But Scott Gimple and all the other actors and people that are in charge of the Walking Dead universe, right, they have been teasing quite a bit that they want a reunion and they want these characters together. And I think that we had enough of a gap from The Ones Who Live where they could announce something new. And I think that a season 2 for The Ones Who Live is the right approach, right? You could continue that story in some way, right? And like how they did with Daryl Dixon, I believe that Morgan should be the center point of The Ones Who Live season 2 alongside with Rick and Michonne, right? Because in Morgan's last episode for Fear of the Walking Dead, we did see him look for Rick Grimes, and it's just so weird that you have all these characters looking for Rick, and Rick is already back home, so what are they doing, right? You know, they're just out there for no reason. So it makes sense that if we were to pick up directly from Morgan's last episode and have The Ones Who Live season 2 being like that, like how the Book of Carol was, right? We see Carol's journey looking for Daryl, right? Making her way to Daryl. Maybe we see Morgan's journey looking for Rick, and, you know, with Mo and all of that. I think that would be very nice, and also it'd be another way to make this universe feel like a proper universe, right? You know, having these characters interact, right? You have the Fear characters interacting with the main Walking Dead characters and all in one space, and I believe that that is the right course of action. But if it's not a Ones Who Live season 2, I think that something is definitely going to be announced at Comic-Con, and one of those things is a crossover spin-off. And I know that for about a year or two, a lot of us have been speculating a crossover spin-off, and that was ever since these spin-offs were announced and they were rolling, right? We all assumed that these spin-offs were going to be fairly short, but as we all know, right, they have multiple seasons, and we're all clamoring for a crossover spin-off for these characters to reunite finally. And I think we're gonna get some sort of tease at Comic-Con, right? And I think that it's been way too long, right, since anything brand new and fresh from The Walking Dead, right? It's only been Dead City and Daryl Dixon, so it's about time for a new spin-off to be announced. And I think that even if they release a poster or something like that, or just make an announcement of, oh yeah, like, you know, this is an untitled Walking Dead project, right? And you just have all of the actors come up on stage, right? Whoever's going to be on that, right? And have Andrew Lincoln be the center point of it, right? And I think that that would be amazing, right? And I think it's about time that they announce a crossover spin-off or something like that. Something to, you know, keep us having faith in this franchise, right? Because it seems like that this franchise has no direction whatsoever, no build-up ever since The Ones Who Live concluded, and it just seems like that they're just shooting in the dark, right? Negan and Maggie are doing their own thing, and Daryl is doing his own thing, so it's not really leaving much space for any sort of reunion or crossover spin-off, right? And also you consider the fact that there's no big bad in the Walking Dead universe right now ever since the CRM was gone, so, like, you know, they have to start building up to that. And I think that it would be very exciting, right? Just imagine Hall H popping off as soon as all of these actors just come up on stage and, you know, they announce something new, right? And I think that's just wishful thinking at this point, but I definitely do think a new spin-off is going to be announced, and it might be something along the lines of a Walking Dead season 12, right? If they just announced the Walking Dead final season or season 12, right? Something to indicate that this is a crossover show or movie or whatever, I think that that will reignite interest in this franchise. But if it's not a crossover spin-off, right? If you want to do something with Rick Grimes that does not have anything to do with The Ones Who Live, or it's not necessarily a crossover spin-off, I think that they should just do a Commonwealth spin-off, right? And I know that a Commonwealth spin-off does technically count as crossover spin-off because all of the B-list characters are at the Commonwealth right now. But the main crossover that everyone is looking forward to is Rick, Daryl, Negan, Maggie, and Carol, right? You know, those are the characters that everyone wants to see together. So if you just have a Commonwealth spin-off, right, continuing off from the end of The Ones Who Live, where Rick and Michonne do make it back home, right? You know, just seeing Rick preparing for some sort of upcoming threat, or, like, you know, him taking on the role of the leader of the Commonwealth and just learning everything about the Commonwealth. I think that that would be very nice, and it would just give us another excuse just to see more of Rick Grimes in that sort of setting as like a sergeant major, or him taking on the role of Beale but in the Commonwealth. I think that would be very interesting, right? Seeing him basically utilize everything he's learned from the CRM into the Commonwealth would be very cool to see, and seeing how he does stuff differently from Beale. And also in season 11 there were a lot of hints that the Commonwealth does have links with the CRM. So it would be very interesting that if they were to build upon that, right, and if they finally give us some answers with the connection of the Commonwealth and the CRM, I think that that spin-off would be a perfect place to do it. And I think that it'd be very cool. And also with the CRM, still they could be utilized, right? The CRM is not completely done, right? They changed their ways, but that's just at one part of the world. Yeah, it was a main base, right? But still, probably there are other CRM soldiers and leaders that are hidden, and they could potentially be a threat, where I think that they could introduce them in this Commonwealth spin-off. Now, do I think that we're gonna get some sort of announcement regarding Rick Grimes this week, right? I personally think so, right? With all of the evidence and the proof that we got that, yeah, The Ones Who Live is technically a season 1, and also with Scott Gimple saying a lot of things regarding crossovers and stuff like that, I think that we're going to get some sort of announcement, right? Because Comic-Con is the biggest event where they can announce this, and also Hall H, right? They have that opportunity to, really blow the roof off of that place, right? So I do think that Andrew Lincoln is going to walk up, right? And I don't know what capacity will they announce something, right? If they're just going to announce that, yeah, Rick Grimes is still part of this universe, right? And they're going to do something with him soon, I would take that as well, right? I gotta know that, Rick Grimes is in this universe, and he could show up somewhere, right? He could show up in Daryl Dixon, he could show up in Dead City, but he does have a presence, and these spin-offs are building towards something, right? They're building towards a reunion, right? And I think that if they were to recreate that moment from Comic-Con when they announced The Ones Who Live, I think that would be perfect as well. They don't need to necessarily announce that, yeah, The Ones Who Live season 2, or like a show entirely, but at least if they announce an untitled project, or if they have some sort of timeline, right, like how the MCU does it, or just like a lot of other things, right, a lot of other studios, right, they have timelines for their shared universe, and they map out which year do they want something to release and which characters are part of it. I think that would be a very good way to make this universe feel more like a universe, and have people be excited in it again, right, to reignite interest in this universe again. And also, like how I said before, the fact that Andrew Lincoln walks up on stage and he announces that, yeah, we are working on something, right? We can't announce it now, but I'm just here to let you all know that the Walking Dead universe is not dead, right? Rick Grimes is going to return soon. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really, really appreciate it. And like how I said in the start of the video, I'd like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. And also comment down what you guys think. Will we get some sort of announcement for Rick Grimes at Comic-Con this week? So please comment down below and what you guys think will happen. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.